Well, we're out at the 63 Oldsmobile, and I haven't fired this thing up in a long time because it has a leaky fuel pump, so it's just kind of sat here. But I think today I'll see if I can get it fired up and get it in the garage. And I have a little electric fuel pump I think I'll put in it because it was just cheaper than a rebuild on the original one. So if I can get it started and I can beat the rain, I'll pull this into the garage and see if I can't put that electric fuel pump in it. So let's grab a battery, and probably going to need some gas to prime it, otherwise it won't start, I'm pretty sure. So get that ready and see if she'll start. Alright, I've gone ahead, put a battery in it, and given it a good bit of prime. Hopefully I got enough gas down actually into the bowl of the carburetor to get it to run for a while, but we'll just see what happens, I guess. Alright, let's see if we can get this thing in the garage. Well, here goes nothing. Well, it still moves. Let's try the brakes. Oh yeah, brakes are still good. It's got oil in it. It's probably low on coolant. Can't really see any in there, so we're not going to be running it for very long. Just going to get her into the garage and see if we can't take care of the fuel pump. Hopefully I got enough room and I won't hit much. Yeah, I think that'll work. Alright, let's take a look at the fuel pump. Well, you can see the trail of fuel when I drove it in here. And if we go up front, you can really see that it's leaking fuel. This is why I don't drive it. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can figure out exactly where it's coming from. I think it was the fuel pump last time I checked, but that was quite a while ago. So we'll check again, and if it is indeed the fuel pump, we'll probably bypass it. I don't think I'll take it out, but we'll just bypass it and put a electric one in. And hopefully that'll take care of this fuel leaking problem. Well, I'm going to try to get you a shot here so that you can see it's the fuel pump and not the lines. I was hoping that maybe I was wrong and it was the lines, but it looks like it's dripping right out of the fuel pump. If you look there at the bottom of the screen, you can see a drip every once in a while, and that's coming from the fuel pump itself. So it looks like that's where it's leaking. Now I'm going to have to figure out where I want to install the electric fuel pump and how I'm going to rig that up. So I'll get the back end jacked up because I'll probably end up putting it back there, but we'll take a look around and see how it all looks. Well, I've gone ahead and I've pulled the fuel pump out of the car here. It's kind of a cool little unit. It's got a little glass fuel bowl, sort of like a tractor does. But I've done some research online, and the rebuild kit for this thing is about 70 bucks. And the electric fuel pump I got is 12, or was 12. So I'm not going to be rebuilding that one. I'll keep it, but I'm not going to rebuild it. And as I was looking around, trying to figure out how exactly I wanted to rig this little fuel pump up, I decided actually to use a different fuel pump. I was doing some research online, and apparently a fuel pump, mechanical fuel pump from a 77 to 78 Buick V6 will fit this car with some modifications. I'll have to drill out the mounting holes on the new one from 5/16 to 3/8, I guess, and it should bolt up and work. So that whole fuel pump is only 20 bucks. So I think I'm going to go that route and not put the electric one in, because electric one would be a little more of a pain. I'd have to modify the fuel line in the back, which ain't too bad, and drill some mounting holes in the frame and what have you, and then run a wire up to a keyed ignition source, which is not all that bad. But if I can just drill a couple of holes in a new fuel pump and bolt her right in and plumb it up, I think I'll go that route. So I'm going to go ahead and order the other fuel pump, and be here in a couple of days. And once it gets here, yeah, we'll see if it works. Well, I got my new fuel pump, and I don't think it's going to work. I got all excited when I read that this will fit a 394. I didn't really check the fine print, and in 1963 they actually changed what fuel pump goes on these 394 engines. So 63 and 64 are different than 62 and back, and unfortunately they are different enough I can't use this. This one's a 63. It mounts just like this, and as you can see, the arm goes up and rides kind of on top of the cam lobe there, the eccentric that runs the fuel pump. And a 62 and earlier actually mount upside down like this and ride below it, which would be fine if the mounting holes were even, but they're not. So what happens is, if I tried to bolt this on upside down, I would be too high up, because the mounting holes on the engine are actually in a different spot on the 63 than they are on the 62. 63, 64, and 62 and before. So this isn't going to work. I've looked at it just about every which way, and I don't think I can make it work. I suppose I could probably try cutting this and bending it up, but that's kind of a pain in the butt. Luckily, I've got the electric fuel pump still. I can run that, no problem. So what I think I'm going to do is make a block-off plate out of a piece of metal for the engine there. Since I've already got this one out, there's no sense in putting it back in just to plug the hole. So I'll make that plate up, throw that in, and then mount the electric fuel pump. So I guess it's a good tip if you've got a 62 and before, 62 and earlier 394, you can use this 41209 fuel pump. If you've got a 63 or 64, it's just not going to work. So let's get to making that plate. Alright, I've got my block-off plate installed. It's that red thing right down there. I just took a piece of metal from actually a lawnmower and cut it to the right size and drilled some holes. And used the gasket from the new fuel pump and bolted it on. Hopefully that's thick enough metal not to distort at all and leak. So hopefully it'll seal. If it doesn't, I'll have to make it out of some thicker stuff, but we'll burn that bridge when we get to it. And now I've got to mount the pump, and it would be nice to get it up here somewhere, but I don't want to do that for a couple of reasons. One, there's a lot of heat in the engine compartment, and I want to keep the fuel pump away from heat so it lasts a little bit longer. And the second reason I don't want to put it up here is because it's a long way from here to the tank, and I don't want that thing trying to run without fuel in it. So I'm going to go ahead and mount it actually behind or in front of that wheel there, below the gas tank, so it's always filled with fuel. So let's crawl under there and take a look. And here's where I'll be mounting the fuel pump. I've already gone ahead and drilled and tapped a hole for a 1/4 bolt on the bottom, and set it up here. And on the top, I think I'll use just a self-tapper, because it's kind of tough to get in here. There's not a whole lot of room. So this is where it's going to sit. I'll have to take this fuel line and kind of give it a goofy bend to get it to the front of this, to the inlet. And then I'll have to add a piece from here to the existing fuel line, which is no big deal really. And I think I'm going to wire it up before I do any fuel line stuff. So I'll probably just ground it right to this bolt here. I'll take this off, clean it up, and ground it right here. And then I'll take the power and run it up along the frame to the front of the car where I can attach it. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off, clean this up, and put an end on this ground wire and put it into place, and then I'll put a self-tapper in the top and and we can start doing the lines. Alright, I've got the fuel pump all wired in and connected. As you can see, I've got the grounded straight to the frame right where the pump is, and the power wire comes off of there and runs along the frame. I've actually got it strapped to the fuel line, which probably not the best idea, but it's convenient, so I got it there. And I got both of the hoses connected. I got one here, just a scrap chunk I had laying around. It was long enough to do it, so threw it on there. And of course the original fuel line routed into that side of the pump. So let's go up front and under the hood, and I'll show you where I got it hooked up. Alright, up front here, the stock fuel line, the rubber part, was actually long enough so that I could reroute it a different way underneath the AC compressor and actually get it straight to the carburetor, so I didn't have to add any fuel line or anything like that. That was pretty simple. And here's the wire for the fuel pump. As you can see, it comes up along the frame, and then I've actually got it tied into the blower motor wire. So I figured I'd route it that way because it's a key-on fused 12-volt power source, and on top of that, I think the heater core in this thing is plugged, and I don't drive it in the winter anyway. And here the AC is locked up, so I don't have AC, so I don't really have any use for a blower motor. I mean, it was just pretty much an extra circuit that would come in handy, so I plugged it up to that. Now in the car, I have to turn on the AC and put the blower on to high. That'll give it the full voltage it needs to run. And as an added bonus, it's kind of a theft deterrent, because if I turn that off, you know, somebody could try to steal the car, and they could start it and they could maybe drive a little ways, but it would run out of gas pretty quick and then they wouldn't be able to start it. So kind of a neat little byproduct of the fuel pump here. But I've got everything set up. Let's see if I can fire it up and see how well it works. Alright, everything should be set up to work. I got everything, all the tools and everything off the car. So let's go ahead and turn on, just turn on the vent. That'll run the blower. And we've got it up on high, so it'll get full voltage. Turn on the key. I don't hear any fuel pump. Okay, we gotta have it on air conditioning or heat, so that's up there anyway. I hear the fuel pump running. Let's see if we can get it to start. Ah, you know what I forgot to do? I forgot to set the choke. That might help. Alright, I got the choke set. Let's see what it does now. Also, while I was out, I looked for any leaks. I didn't see any. So that's a good sign. Well, it fired up. Not seeing any leaks there. No leaks down here. I'd say it looks to be working. No big black smoke coming out of the exhaust, which means that the carburetor is not flooding, which is good. Alright, I would say that works. Let's let her down off the jack stands and take her for a spin. Alright, I got this thing set down on the ground. Let's hop in it, take for a quick spin. There we go. Well, so far so good. I don't see any flame shooting out the back. It's still running. I'm going to call this a win so far. And the brakes still work. That car's a little too big to make that turn, I think. We'll back her up. Yeah, running pretty good. I think I'll just pop the hood and check and make sure I'm not leaking anything, any oil especially, because that, I don't know how well that plate's going to seal up, but yeah, if that's not leaking, I think we're good.